And I'll turn it over. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Karen Wolters. I coordinate Mankato Adult Basic Education. And today we are here with some regional partners for a presentation about our regional delivery model. So our region met and decided that we would have Leave and Mary Kate present today. Mary Kate is our regional transitions coordinator, and she also coordinates our distance learning for our regional transitions plan. And Leave is our lead ESL teacher. Do you guys want to say hi? Say maybe
Hello.
What you do.
Hi, I'm Leave.
All right, next slide. So today what we thought we would do, because we know some of you have heard our presentation in the past. We've done this multiple times at different conferences. But just give you an overview again of our regional programming model that we have established. We have some results for the 21-22 school year that we thought would be interesting to hear. And then reflect a little bit on the things that we have learned this year and give you some time to ask some questions or have some discussion. We do have some of our regional managers on the call. Not all of them could join us today, but some of them are on the call. So we would encourage you throughout the presentation to put your questions in the chat. And they may come up, and we may answer them just through the presentation, but if not, then we can facilitate a discussion, question answer time at the end. So the first thing most people ask is, why did you create a regional model? And this regional model came about through our regional transitions funding. We have a team that meets quarterly, and you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consortia there in the dark. This is the bottom southwest corner of the state. There's 5 consortia that make up this part of our state, and we have 75 school districts that we collectively serve. Most of our area is one-room schoolhouse scenarios. Not every consortium, but many of the consortia have a lot of one-room schoolhouses. And we don't have the critical mass to run a lot of classes synchronously. So we have been trying to figure out ways that we can serve all of the people in our region. At the same time, we want to build the capacity of our teachers to be better online teachers, and of our programs to have more offerings for our students. So we came up with this regional model together, and we've been doing it for a couple of school years with our transitions classes. And then we've started a new program this year that we're going to talk about in more depth with our ESL at night. So next slide. This is our advisory team. These are the regional managers that work together. Our advisory team meets monthly now, and then our regional transitions group meets quarterly, and it's the same people. So Mankato ABE Glacial Lakes is like Hutchinson, Wilmer. Southwest ABE has 3 managers, Marty, Deanna, and C, because that's a really big region, a big consortium. Sue is in Faribault County. She runs the smallest ABE program in the state. And Nate Warden is just north of Mankato and west of Mankato with 11 school districts. So that's our team. Mary Kate is going to talk a little bit about the process of how we have set up our regional classes.
Thank you. This is a process that we kind of came up with as we were starting to implement some of our regional classes. We started this last school year with some regional classes that were part of our transitions plan. We realized that we needed quite a bit of coordination centrally to make sure all of the pieces were put together and that nothing kind of fell through the cracks with many of the teachers and people involved being separated by location. So we've made some tweaks along the way, and I'll talk about some new things that are coming up, but this is our general process that we use for all of our classes that are offered regionally. I am kind of the coordinator of these things. So the first step is for me to meet with the manager. So a manager in our transitions plan, we have identified multiple classes that we will offer in the school year. Each class has a lead consortium. So I will meet with that manager about 2 to 3 months prior to the start date of the course. And we work together, to develop a course plan and develop some marketing materials. So I have some templates linked here. So this will be in the folder, so you can view these and make copies if you need to. So this is a sample of the course plan that we use. So I will go through with the manager over like a Google Meet or a Zoom and fill out the top part of this Google Doc just to get all the information that we need. And I use this information to create all of the registration forms and marketing materials. The bottom kind of details the whole process from start to finish. This is what I will go through here in this section. This process really came from an addendum to our memorandum of understanding. As we started implementing some of these regional classes, we realized that there needed to be some guidelines in terms of who gets contact hours, who's going to do what. So I kind of pulled those out of the addendum and made it like a little checklist. So we go through these and mark completion dates, make sure people know what they're supposed to do and when they're supposed to do it by, so the class can get off the ground when it's scheduled to. After I've met with the manager and filled out that course plan, I will meet with the teachers. Typically, we have had teachers from different consortia teaching the class together. So we will have one lead teacher that might be the content expert and has taught that class before. And then we try to pair them with the teacher who maybe doesn't have experience with that content area and would like to build their capacity so that this class can be offered locally in other programs. So I'll meet with the teachers in a Google Meet or a Zoom. We'll discuss each teacher's role. So we have a lead teacher, and then the other teacher who's kind of learning is doing some observation, and they're also providing some tech support to the teacher and the student. So since all of these classes are offered online, we have one assigned to kind of do the tech support, and one is doing the teaching. We talk about the learner management system and go through the attendance tracking process in that meeting. Between this time and when the class starts, I'm also meeting with the teachers and emailing them about the learner management system, any content that they need posted and things like that. We will begin recruiting students. Here, I will send an email to the managers in our Southwest region with all of the information. I will also send some sample flyers, and they are able to edit these with their specific enrollment procedures for their location. So I'll show you a sample of the email. I take a screenshot of the top part of that course plan that I've made and include that here so they can see all of the details. And then I will attach some marketing slides and a referral form, which is a Google form. I will attach that all in the email, and they can use these items to recruit students and then essentially register them for the course. So here's an example of a flyer I would send. And you'll notice at the bottom part, I leave an area where each consortia or program location can put their registration procedure. So as they're recruiting students, they can say, go see Kelly in the office or talk to Jenna at the Marshall location. They can put their specific information here, but all of the other class information remains consistent. As students are being recruited and referred, staff members will fill out a referral form. It's a simple Google form that we use, and I use the same one for every class. I just make a copy of it and change this course specific information. They put in their staff email, what program they're coming from, and then it's just basic student information. And I collect all of this information, and I do all of the enrollment and manage all of the registrations for every class. And each consortia is responsible for creating their own SID class and collecting their hours. We use an attendance tracking form on a Google Sheet. This is where the teachers will count the attendance weekly, and any program that has students in attendance will be responsible for viewing this tracking form and then going back to their SID to count those attendance hours. Again, another sample of our tracking form. Generally, it will look like this. I do make some changes based on what's required for the class. So this is a para-pro. So we have the student's name, what consortium they're from, some contact and test data, and then their hours would just be entered here. So if Mankato, Glacial Lakes, they have students enrolled, their data entry people are responsible for coming to the spreadsheet and marking those hours in SID weekly. We've had other kinds of classes which require different information, so we can adapt the sheet based on what is needed for the class. I do keep all of these regional classes on one spreadsheet just for ease of access. So there's a tab at the bottom for each class for the year. And as the class ends, I review the data and kind of synthesize it and then report back to the region. And we keep track of all of the data for our classes and review these quarterly at our meetings. All of our classes are hosted on a learner management system. We made the determination to use Google Sites. We found that there are no restrictions with different school district domains or emails that staff or students might be using. We had some issues with Google Classroom right off the bat, so we quickly pivoted to Google Sites. I can provide access only to enrolled students and staff, which protects our copyrighted curriculum. It also allows us to remove access for students who maybe haven't met the attendance policy or haven't scheduled a post-test. So it allows us to kind of manage who has access to the class. We found Google Sites very easy to customize. We can make copies of them for future classes. So each teacher is able to kind of make it their own. While there's a kind of a set structure, teachers can, add their own personality to it and edit and things like that. It's really important that we have a place for students to access the class material. So the websites are a big part of a class. If you're familiar with Google Classroom, we use it in just the same way. So the teacher is using the site as a part of their instruction. So students are seeing it during class and they're able to access it before or after to review the materials or do any homework that might be required for the class. I do have a template site that we can use for easy duplication. So if we like a certain layout, we can just make a copy of it and add in the course specific information. I have a sample site here. This is just one example. This is a Google Apps for Education class that we've offered a few times this year. So typically I'll have the course description and schedule on the home page. I do lock in the banner, I'll put either the Zoom or Google Meet link. Then no matter which tab of the site students are on, they're able to find that link. So sometimes teachers like it divided up by week or by session. Sometimes they want it divided up by specific content. So this is where I get all of that information in that first meeting that I have with the teachers. So I know how they want it set up. I do the initial setup of the websites, and then anything else that teachers want added, they're able to go in and add those things as the class progresses. Some of our classes do record, and we're able to link the recordings on the website. We don't record everything, but sometimes we do. So if we do record it, we'll just link it right on the website. This really saves time having to email everybody the link and things like that. And I kind of mentioned this, we are using Zoom and Google Meet. It's really depending upon who's teaching and what they're comfortable with and maybe what's used in their program most frequently. So this is something that we also determine in that initial manager and teacher meeting. And we have the teachers schedule these things and create the Zoom links or Google Calendar events. Since they are the manager and of the class, essentially, they need to be the one creating these things. So they have host controls and everything. We do invite students typically through a calendar. They will get reminders and the link will be there every time there's a class session held. These, excuse me, these are some of the short-term classes that we have offered over the past 2 years. And these classes were funded through our regional transitions funding. When I say short-term, generally these are 6 to 8 week long classes. They have a set start date and a set end date, and students are expected to enroll and attend for the whole duration of this course. So we've offered child development quite a few times, English for driving, parapro test prep, community interpreter, Google Apps for education, and certified revenue cycle specialist. We will be offering that for the first time coming up in May. After last year and offering these short-term classes regionally, some of the managers had the idea, hey, why don't we try something like this for our NightESL classes? None of us can really seem to fill these classes, and it would really be great if we could develop a system to offer leveled ESL for the whole Southwest region. And so we implemented this in the fall of 21. So we're almost completing our full school year with this program. So it's full year, just ongoing. Students can enroll. Now it's twice a month. We have 6 levels, but 5 classes. Classes levels 1 and 2 are together. For this is not funded with regional transitions funding. Every program has contributed funding and or staffing to this to support these PM ESL classes. Much of it came from the one-time governor funding, and it is sustainable with our contact hour funding going forward. So it's been really well received. I will look at some of the data here shortly, but we have really improved access for students who are in more remote areas of our region. And it's been really great. Classes that maybe once only had 5 people, now we have 25 people and a waiting list. So it's been a great opportunity for staff and students in our region. Throughout this process, we found that there's a lot of information here. As you can see, I just gave you a ton of information about our classes in Southwest Minnesota. So we developed a website for our region, and this is I've been developing it throughout the year, but it will be launching shortly as a way to kind of organize all of this data and help our staff access it in one place. So this website is really created for staff use as a way to kind of keep all of our registration forms together and also review data and house any other information that we need staff to know about for our regional classes. So on my home screen here, I have our current online classes. So our Learn English Online, this is our evening ESL program that I spoke about. You can see here, I have a link to the registration form, and we do expect that these registration forms are only completed by staff. There are many things that we require in the registration form, and this helps with our placement for students. So we don't allow students to self-register for any of these regional classes. I do link some enrollment data here, so everybody has access to this information, and we can review our enrollment and contact hours. We typically review them monthly, but this will be a place that people can check in on them anytime. You can see the enrollment in September for this evening ESL program started at, we had 628 hours the first month, and February, March, we're almost 1,400, 1,300 hours. So it's grown dramatically, and it's kind of, you know, has consistent enrollment at about this 1,300 hour mark. Generally, we have about 110 students enrolled at a time across the Southwest region. So this information is on the top because this is an ongoing current class that's running all year. Below that, I have access to other classes that are in progress. I have linked the flyer for people's review. If staff want to use this site to market to students, they can just come to this website, open up the flyer and show students this class is coming up and help use this for marketing. I also have the registration forms linked below. Both of these classes are they're both in progress, so that registration is closed for these, but the Certified Revenue Cycle Specialist, that form is open since the class does not start until May 3rd. I will update enrollment data here. It's good for managers and other staff, teachers of the class, to be able to come to a place and say, how many students can I expect? Oh shoot, I thought I had 7 students. I better check on that. Maybe we lost one. I wonder what happened. So this is a place that anyone can check on that recent data. I have a section for past classes. So we can look at the past classes that we've offered this year. So we offered Google Apps for Ed earlier in the year and child development. So I list the instructors, who's the lead consortium, and the enrollment and total hours that we generated just for contact hours. This does not include any proxy hours. And I also have a link to last year. So this is a really good way for us to keep records without having to look at a million spreadsheets. All of it will just be kept here, and we can use this information for all sorts of presentations or anytime we need to collect data. I also have our transition plan goals linked here. And I have a tab for our service areas with links to websites and 5-year narratives. Okay. All right, Liv or Karen, I think it's one of you.
Yeah, we wanted to take a little time just to talk through some of the things that we've learned through this process of developing a regional model. These are some of the things that we said we would do at the very beginning. And when we first started, we knew that the coordination of services was going to be a really big deal. And so we hired through our RTC, our Regional Transitions Funding, we hired Mary Kate to do regional coordination. And how we did that was Mankato had hired Mary Kate as a 10-month position. And so the region decided to just add some funding to that and make another month on her position and just have her work for Mankato and the region through that position. So we just took some funding from our RTC plan and added it into a position that exists in our region. And so then she coordinated these online courses through that time. And that worked well when we were doing just those short-term classes. That was more challenging this school year because when we added that regional ESL program, that was much more work because it was all the time enrollment, training of staff. You know, it was different, but we knew that it would be that way going in. We defined a process that we thought would work through a memorandum of understanding, and our region designed that and talked through, like, how are we going to do these proxy hours? How are we going to handle students that come from other consortia? What if somebody calls us from outside of our region? You know, things like that. And we wrote it out in a memorandum of understanding. How will we deal with those things the best that we could anticipate at the time? So you can click on that link, not right now, Mary Kate, but people on the call can go onto the materials and click on that and go and look at that MOU and kind of think about how would that work if you wanted to do a class with another consortium or with a regional model. We have a really strong team, and we have a great willingness to learn and work together. Before we started this project, the managers all sat down and said, you know, we know we're going to have issues. We know we're going to have things that happen that are not anticipated. And we know that things are going to go wrong this year. And we have to really make sure that we come to each other with the things that are not going well and be honest and talk about those, because it's going to happen. I mean, it's not like you can just have a project and it's going to go smooth. It never does. So we have a high level of trust in our group. Like Nate said, you know, we're just a great looking bunch, and he's working with awesome people and awesome women who just want to make it work. But, you know, there are things that are going to go wrong. So if you can sit down together and really think student-centered, I think that's what we all came back to. Anytime something happened, we started thinking about like the students and like, who does this benefit? How does this help people? That's what we need to focus on. With the marketing, Mary Kate, I don't know if there's anything you want to say that you learned about marketing. I think having your flyers be, you know, versatile, where you have a template, but then they can make it their own. I think that's been key to marketing in the right places. Is there anything else that you can think of about marketing that you've learned?
Nothing's coming to mind, but I think it's important that the materials that we're creating to market the class are getting out to all the teachers and students that it's appropriate for. We have a weekly announcement system that we use in Mankato. We're also using it with our evening ESL classes, and I think that's really helpful, so that these flyers go to a place where students are going to see them consistently. So I think that's important to have a plan on how you're going to use the marketing, so it's not just created and passively hanging in a bulletin board. I think having a process of how you actively are using your marketing is really, really important.
We decided at the beginning of this that each consortium would complete their intakes with their students locally, and then refer them to this programming through a Google form that Mary Kate would coordinate and organize. That went really well, better than I expected. At the beginning of the year, we had an all staff meeting, and that was when we started our ongoing ESL night program. That's when we decided we needed to have an all staff meeting. And what we did was we invited the people who are going to be teaching the classes, obviously, and the paraprofessionals in the classes who are going to be the tech teachers. But we also invited all the managers and all the phone answerers in all of the consortia, and the people who were going to be doing that local intake. And we talked through the process in detail, and we had it all written out in a big slideshow. And so, like, when people, you know, we know that these materials are going to be everywhere in the region. And so someone could pick up a flyer somewhere and they're not in that consortium and call it the other consortium. So we've had people call in Mankato from Nate's consortium. They live 15 minutes down the road in St. Peter, and that's not in Mankato's consortium. And so we had a process in place where if someone calls you, your secretary knows to ask for their address and look up their school district. And then say, if that person is from our district, yes, go ahead and schedule them for their intake. But if it's not from their district, then the secretary would say, you know what, I have to call you back. I'm going to get to the intake person to call you back and make an appointment. What's the best way to reach you? And then the secretary would go to the consortium that's supposed to be enrolling them and give them the information and have them call them back. So they just think we're calling them back. They don't get the runaround. Oh, you need to call here, you need to call there. We don't want people to have this runaround going on. So we take it and we find the right person to call them back, and they just think we're calling back from the same office. So that keeps it pretty seamless. And that actually went really well this year. We made a big list of all of our school districts, who would be answering the phones for the ABE programs in those school districts. And so if you looked up an address and it was tied to Butterfield, Minnesota, you knew who should be calling them back, and you got that student information to the right place. And then as far as our contact hours, we kept that spreadsheet and it worked really well. I highly recommend that you get everybody on board in that initial meeting, like I said, because we also talked about the importance of, we're going to keep attendance on a spreadsheet, but there has to be someone from every consortium that goes back and checks that spreadsheet and enters those contact hours in a timely manner. Otherwise, your window in SID is going to close and you're not going to know, or you're not going to know for post testing. So where they're at with their hours. And so we just had everybody doing that weekly. Lee is going to talk a little bit about PLCs.
Mary Kate, I think you have to just zoom out a little bit. There's one bullet point that isn't showing on the screen at the moment. But we do have a monthly PLC where we have all of our tech teachers and teachers in the ESL program. We meet monthly. We go through best practices. We talk about different ways to do online engagement with students in the online programming that we offer, so that everyone's on the same page and we can talk about curriculum. We share joint curriculum. We have procedures where we have a Google slideshow that's presented in the Google site, and we talk about best practices for that. We did some initial training at the beginning of our programming, and then we continue to support staff throughout the school year. And so any questions that come up, we do send to managers and the RTC, Mary Kate. And if we have questions about, for example, a spring break, our staff and students wanted a spring break. So recently we gave feedback to managers and we made some adjustments to our shared calendar. Even things like snow days and those types of procedures, we had to come up with a plan that would work for the entire region. So yeah, that's how we work with our staff, and we continue to update any procedures and give communication to managers and intake specialists, especially about post-testing rates and counseling with students and giving them their conference docs. Thanks, Mary Kate, for zooming out. I don't know why that wasn't showing up.
Yeah, it looks like it's actually off the bottom of the slide, but
okay.
All right, so we wanted to leave some time for questions and answers or discussion. And we do have a couple of other regional managers on the call. I believe Marty from Worthington is on the call, and Anne from Glacial Lakes is on the call, and Nate from Area Adult Learning Cooperative. So if anybody has questions, I don't see many in the chat. Now is your time to ask.
Oh yeah, Sue's here too.
Hi, Sue.
is there anything else regarding the process that you wanted more information on, or I could go back through some of the documents?
Okay, there's a question. The contact hours are entered by each consortium. So each consortium is getting credit for their own students that are in these classes. That's right. So the contact hours get entered on a spreadsheet, and we share that back with the consortia, the local consortia. So each person who refers their student will get the contact hours for that student. And the reason that we can do it that way is because these classes are funded by grants if they're in the regional transitions Those short-term classes are funded by the Regional Transitions Grant. So the teachers are paid for by the grant. And so everybody refers all their students and they get to keep their own contact hours. In the ESL Night program, our consortia estimated what we thought we would have for enrollment at the beginning of the year, and we contributed staff. And we set up the staffing with the percentage of staffing that we thought we probably would have for the region. And that worked out almost right on what we thought it would be. So we just, like, for example, I put a teacher in level 5 and Marty put her para in level 5. And so we put these together like that. We just said, this is what I can donate, and put them all together. And so then I may be paying for 2 teachers and a para or something like that. And then C may be paying for 1 teacher, and Anne is paying for 1 teacher. But then in the scope of it, I can enroll my students into any of those ESL classes at night. So Mankato students are all over in all of the different levels. And then we all get our contact hours back. Okay, let's see.
There was another question, Karen, about caps on enrollment for our programs, I think especially the ESL.
Yeah, we haven't hit any caps on our smaller group classes, those ones that are like 6 to 8 weeks long. It seems like we would probably benefit even from a little bit more enrollment in some of those, but in our ESL night classes, where we have the 5 different levels offered, we found that the quality of the meet goes down after about 20 people online. Either it starts to have some glitches, or it's hard to engage all of the students. So we will enroll like 25 or 28 people, knowing that probably at night not more than 20 will actually show up every night, because some students say I can only come 1 night a week, or I can only come 2 nights a week. That does happen. So far, Mary Kate, we've had to have a wait list a couple of times for a short period of time. If those numbers get high, I think maybe we had a wait list for a few weeks or a month in level 5 a couple times or something like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we haven't had a problem with that.
There were also some questions, Karen, about expansion for next year, including expanding statewide, and if the state would help fund that.
Oh,
well, expansion. Well, here's where we're at with expansion. Our regional model is working well for our region, and we're going to do it again next year for our ESL night classes and in our regional transitions plan. We do not have plans to add more regions to our region, because we have just the right amount and capacity for what we're serving right now, and it's going super well. So we don't want to just jump and expand it and make it crazy, because it's going well. I know that the state is looking at this model, and I know they like it. We've been told that. We've been encouraged to continue doing it. Obviously, the regional transitions grantors are saying, yeah, we like it, do it. And now there is actually a statewide healthcare core curriculum class being offered, not by our region, but by another regional transitions region. And Meg Patridge is the person who has been, talking about that, and we've been starting to enroll students in that online year. I can't talk, in that online statewide course. So I actually love the idea too, because I don't have to hire and try to figure that all out. If I have a student who wants to take that healthcare core curriculum class, they enroll through her, and we get all of our contact hours, and we're excited about seeing some new things pop up. So, I mean, I would encourage you as regions to think about, would this work for your region or part of your region? And I know some of your programs are so large in geographic area that you could do a model like this just in your own.
I think Karen's internet froze up. Mary Kate, there was a question in the chat about the certified revenue cycle specialist and what that program is about. We lost you for a second, Karen.
Is C here?
Sorry.
No, I don't think.
No, C's running a different session right now.
So I'll just pop open this flyer if you want to take a look at it. It's something new that we're offering. It's more for people who want to work in the billing side of healthcare. So it's specific to healthcare billing. This is all I know. Topics include patient access, credit and collections, billing.
Yep, and C's teacher kind of explained it to her as, you know, when you have like a chiropractic office, the person who's doing the phone answering is also often doing this work. And so it would be another healthcare medical secretary type certification.
Oh, thanks, Ann.
Oh,
Ann
thanks,
posted a link in the
Ann.
chat.
Is there anything, Ann, Marty, Nate, that you would like to say about the classes or?
Yeah, I'll just add that this has really risen the capacity for not only our students, but also our teachers. Every teacher in our consortium knows about this program. And if they're not able to provide an online course, they refer them to this. And it's our teacher. This really forced her to work with everyone else and come up with a lesson plans and getting everything ready. And it brought her capacity up, which is going to bring the rest of our teachers' capacity up of doing it, because we're doing it. And it's been a great benefit for a small consortium. And like I said, we're a good looking and smart group. So I don't know which one is more than the other, probably smart, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of win-win situations for everyone.
There was a couple more questions now. I see what have been the best attended classes. If we're looking at just our classes that are funded through the transitions grant, I would say child development has been super well attended, and our Google computer class, I think those two have the highest numbers. But the NightESL is, I mean, it's been huge for the entire region. Just for our Mankato consortium alone, we've reached people in areas where we have never been able to reach students before. Springfield is kind of a place, or Sleepy Eye, that is part of our consortium, and we actually tried to have in-person ESL classes there, and we couldn't get it to go. We tried for a number of years, and we have offered this online program, and now we have 15 to 20 students at a time from Sleepy Eye. So that's been amazing. And I think, like Nate said, it's been really great for the capacity of our teachers and our programs.
Yeah, the child development curriculum, I believe, is on the Atlas website, isn't it, Mary Kate?
I believe so.
I can check and drop a link.
Okay.
Okay, have you struggled to get students signed up for any of your classes? We have duplicated your model in Northwest. Don't get the numbers we hope for. How, Kirsten, how are you marketing to your students? We do still struggle. These classes aren't like over capacity. So, but in terms of like, oh, Mankato, we had 2 students, Glacial Lakes had 1, Marshall had 1. So between all of the areas, we have a full class. Whereas if it was just the 2 in Mankato, we'd be like, well, sorry, we can't run it now.
Mm-hmm. And word of mouth will spread, just so you know. One thing that I've done is hired students to be those tech paras in the classes, because the students know where the other students are. So we hired a student from over by Sleepy Eye. She used to live in Gibbon, then she moved to Springfield. I don't know. She lives over in the Sleepy Eye area now, but she has been an excellent recruiter over there. So she posted the child development curriculum on the from the Atlas website.
I'm actually not sure which one is which. If you want to double check and see which one looks like yours, there's several there.
This one.
Click view resource and then you can see. Yeah, that's the one from Glacial Lakes.
And they get first aid CPR in that at their local consortium. That's the only credential that they
Yeah, this is, yes, that's the right one that you're showing, Mary Kate.
All right, well, thank you everyone for coming to our session. It's 1 o'clock and I know we'll have, Patsy, did you want to talk a little bit about wrap up?
Sure, just a note, let me put this in the chat that you have a 15-minute break and then network and coffee breaks begin at 1:15. You have a number of things to choose from. So stay tuned for those. They're a little less formal, they're not recorded. It's an opportunity to chat with a facilitator and then a lot of colleagues around a common topic. And those include math, marketing, evidence-based reading, instruction, writing in a one-room schoolhouse, teaching younger adults ages 17 to 24, low literacy ESL phonics, and Adam coming back for the corrections group. So take part in one of those, and then our final session will begin after that. So thanks everyone, and thanks to our friends in Southwest Minnesota for all your work. Appreciate it.